Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Casual Gaming Conversation. I'm Connor, that's Nick. We're recapping the Game Awards. A bunch of awards were handed out last night. We're going to go over the highlights, the key points, and then we're going to go over all the major announcements, stuff that we want to talk about, and kind of go over where this leaves us in the games industry. There's a lot that we learned last night, but it almost brought up more answers than it did questions. All the way around.
Yeah, I was about to say
more questions than answers. I have so many questions about what a lot of developers are doing now. Yep. Who wasn't there is very interesting, but who was there is also very interesting. So we're going to kind of break it all down, get into that, have a good time. We're recording this live on Twitch for the first time ever, which is very exciting. Thank you so much for the people rocking with us. And for the support on the Game Awards stream. It was amazing. We are still reveling in it. It's insane.
Yeah, we normally stream for 15 to 25 people. Like, peak viewership 25, 15 is normally that like safe spot we're around. And we had 150 viewership peak, which is like something that not only did we not expect this year, we didn't expect ever. And so
I was driving home from work today, and like I was just thinking about the whole situation and like where we are at and how everything has gone, and I almost started crying. I was like, I can't believe this. Like, I cannot believe what has happened to my life in the last 2 months, and the hard work that we put in and the support that we've received because of it has been overwhelming and very positive and amazing. But this is only possible with you guys, and we are super stoked to provide this for you. It's all about having fun, and I think that's coming through in the content, and we're glad that you guys are on this ride with us, so we appreciate it.
I'm normally pretty happy to be doing the work and shooting the content with you guys. I'm going to be really, like, there's going to be a smile on my face all Sunday while I'm editing videos, being like, holy fucking shit, I can't believe things are going this well.
It's just so fun anyway. We do this for fun. Like, we were doing this for nobody originally. With no real expectation.
For 17 days, we literally had, like, we were posting one a day, and it was hard work.
300 views on 300, each one, 200. Maybe. Like,
we got 1,000.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, a new comment. That's exciting. And now, like, there's people cyberbullying us, and I'm like, oh, we've made it. It's like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So it's very exciting. But we're gonna hop into it. Nick, you want to kick it off with the first award that we're gonna go after?
Absolutely. But first and foremost, I want to give a little run of show. We're going to run through the awards, then we're going to do the announcements, then we're going to discuss the show overall, and then we're going to discuss where this leaves us. I think that's going to be sort of the cadence. And this will all be time-coded for those 4 main bullet points, so if you want to just hear us talk about the announcements, sure. Our grade and what we thought overall, sure. Where it leaves us, whatever you want. Just a heads up there, just to give you a little notes. No draft, no hot takes this week. Ready?
This is going to be a long one.
Best performance was the first award of the night, and the nominees were Ben Starr, Cameron Monaghan, Idris Elba, Melanie LeBird, Neil Newborn, and Yuri Lowenthal. Went to Neil Newborn, and it was the start of the parade route for Baldur's Gate 3. How do you feel? What do you think?
Well deserved, based off of the experience that we had playing Baldur's Gate, but it's another one of those things that is going to come out throughout this night that, like, we just are not huge Baldur's Gate people, but we respect and understand why it is deserving of the praise that it got. He's definitely the character that people point to for that game as, like, one of the standouts, and I think it's impressive and sweet that he won that award, and his speech was very nice and wholesome. So
we'll get into the speeches later, but best audio design was Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4. Brady and I screaming, getting hyped. Hi-Fi Rush came down with a major award, which that you can't say that about Spider-Man.
Yeah, 2. Spider-Man won nothing.
It won nothing. And in 2018, it won nothing.
Yeah. It's maybe because these games are just really great. They're just really great, and you can't be just really great. It doesn't excel in any area, honestly. So, like, with Hi-Fi Rush, maybe it's just a great game, but it excels in that audio design. It excels in mixing audio and visual and timing and gameplay all together. So that's where that certainly factors in here. I thought audio design meant mostly, like, the quality of, like, the gunshots or like the hits and the slashes. Like, I thought Dead Space should have gotten that, or maybe Alan Wake. especially with Alan Wake with like the ethereal like sounds that are going on around you and how it tricks you and messes with you.
I wanted to listen to that with Dolby, just like surround sound. Like that would be unbelievable to have that audio experience.
Wake.
So no, that was a Wake. That was a good one.
Yeah.
That one was a lot better. But we don't need to. I'm still scared. I asked normally like when I'm stressed I like sleep talk, and I asked Taylor, I was like, hey, was I sleep talking last night? And she's like, no, but you were kicking and turning all night long. I was like, that was just because I was drunk. But I was still very scared falling asleep last night after being out late too. Moving on. Best score in music. The nominees were Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, FF16, Hi-Fi Rush, Tears of the Kingdom, and it went to Final Fantasy 16, one of the only awards it won that night. But if it's going to win any, it should be scoring music.
Masayoshi Soken, a god when it comes to producing musical scores. I think after the fact and thinking about it after the awards, I think Alan Wake 2 stood a pretty good shot just because of the all original music that they do in between each chapter. I think is really impressive, and then on top of that, just like the music in the game is really, really quite good. But Soken's on another level. Like, I think Final Fantasy lives and dies by its music. And to step into the shoes of Nobuo Uematsu and not only in some ways meet those expectations, but exceed those expectations is impressive as all get out. Like, I cannot believe we're talking about one of the goats. Yeah. We're talking about one of the goats in Uematsu. Like, the fact that we're talking about some of the most iconic music in gaming along with him is insane for Soken to meet that moment.
Totally.
So, yeah.
Best art direction. The nominees were Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom went to Alan Wake 2. One of the first awards, not one of the last awards it won. I think it's well-deserved. Yeah. I'm happy about it.
You won a Hi-Fi Rush, didn't you?
I won Hi-Fi Rush for everything. Like, at the end of the day, it's not about the fact that I think Hi-Fi Rush is a better game than Alan Wake 2 or Zelda. Like, the quality in those games are just so clear. It's about the statement. It's about showing up and saying and staking the claim on the gaming industry, saying this title, this $30 title, this smaller team, smaller game, totally new. The budget wasn't as high as everything across the board. Winning awards matter because then that allows them to go around and be like, hey, we want to do more of this stuff. It clearly works well. We got some awards for it. So, stoked for Alan Wake 2. I think it deserves it, but
I actually don't. I think that I think that's the one award that, like, I'm a hardcore Alan Wake stan, but, like, the art direction really isn't, like, the thing for that game in a lot of ways. Like, the woodsy areas are very much just woodsy areas. And, like, I think the dark place is really cool.
The dark place, cool. The subways in the dark place, the hotel, like, it's...
But we're just talking about half the game then.
Yeah, I know.
Whereas I think Hi-Fi Rush is a visual treat.
Every second.
Yeah.
There's... The moment that you just go and you have it, you're always in a game eventually going to put the controller down for a second and move on to whatever you're doing. If you just put your controller down and just like look and you see everything going to the beat, the art going to the beat, you're like, holy smokes, they did something real impressive. I even think
Tears of the Kingdom can make an argument, or Mario Wonder even. Like,
especially running on the Switch. I think that Mario Wonder has a really good case. I think Tears' art style is just so next level, and some of the moments, some of the creatures in that game, when the red moon happens and you go and have those flourishes of red that just encapsulate the entire fucking world. It's unbelievable what that team did. But stacked category, probably one of the most stacked categories all night. Speaking of a stacked category, best narrative, Alan Wake 2, BG3, Cyberpunk 2077, FF16, and Marvel Spider-Man. One of these is not like the other.
I was literally going to say that before you started that. That's very funny. But...
Oh, the winner was Alan Wake 2.
The winner was Alan Wake 2, and I think it's well-deserved. I think that the way that game tells its story and with the dual characters and the length and the depth of this story, I think is pushing the whole medium forward and taking Sam Lake to that next level of auteur. And the way that it's telling it with connections to Control, the Remedy verse at this point is probably what I am most excited for in any development studio. Like, I cannot wait to see what Remedy does next. So
Yeah, and honestly, because those games are budgeted as low as they are, we will probably get one hopefully within the next 4 years, which is something that you really can't say.
I don't know because we have Max Payne 1 and 2 remake.
Oh, that's what. We'll probably see Max Payne 1,
I don't
1 and 2.
want it.
I'd rather them do their next game. We'll probably get that 2025 though, and then they're a new thing 2027. You think it's down the line?
So think about it. Control 2019.
Yep.
This 2023.
I'm just saying because it's a remake, you got a lot of. If it's a ground up,
I think it's ground up.
Okay.
You really can't remake that game without going ground up, honestly.
Shout out BG3. This was the moment though that we're like, holy shit,
they might win.
Alan Wake 2 has a chance. Like it went from like there's no way, because we both thought that there was a chance that not enough people played Alan Wake 2 before the embargo, or the pundits had to cast their votes their ballots and everything. But yeah, good for Alan Wake 2. It had a chance. We got 2 more. The next one is Game Direction. Alan Wake 2, BG3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I do want to say we're not going to go through this category, but it did win Best Action Adventure Game. That was only Zelda. Only won that.
I was about to ask you.
Yeah, we're not going to go through that category, but that was the only awarded one.
Just so crazy because when you talk about Zelda earlier this year, everyone was like, "It's gonna win.
It's gonna win everything."
Yeah, everyone was like, "Oh, we're done now." In March, or when did it come out? May, April.
Came out May 5th, I believe.
May. Okay. Where everyone's like, "Oh, we'll wrap it up. It's done. We're for sure. We found our game of the year, and now I would say it stood a chance, but not a good one. So Alan Wake 2 took it. Loved seeing Sam Lake up there. Sad that they kept rushing everybody off for the awards.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, best game of the year. Nominees were Alan Wake 2, BG3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, RE4 Remake, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Winner, BG3. We were not stoked, but we understood.
Yeah. I mean, that really just kind of is what it boils down to. We put 20 hours into this game. It's deep. It's rich. I don't get it. Yep. It's just not for me.
For me, it's not I don't get it. It's we played this game in one of the worst ways possible. We played this game the way you're not supposed to, basically. Fast on the controller, not we would make mistakes on the controls, all of us pretty often. We would make mistakes with having the story mistakes, being oh, are we even supposed to go here yet? Stuff like that. We were not progressing the story. We were under leveled at certain points going into fights that we should have been. Yeah. We did have some hype moments. It's a great game. It has the polish. It has the music. It has the characters that you expect from something that wins Game of the Year. Just not really for us. If I could have gone back and redone us doing this, basically I probably would have said we're all buying a copy. And we're going to all play from our individual setups, and we're going to stream it that way. Or we don't even stream it and let you, me, or Brady just individually, one of us picks it up, reviews it, and does that for the team. Comparatively to, let's stream it on Monday stream with the wheel and get sidetracked and chat. We didn't play it the best way. With that being said, it was awesome for all of us to get that experience, to be able to know about the game and understand what it's delivering. And all of us were it delivered. Yeah. And so
it perfected the CRPG genre is what I just keep coming back to. Whereas I think Alan Wake 2 blazes a new trail. I think that Baldur's Gate 3 takes what we already know and perfects it. I think there's something to be said about that. Yeah. They're doing two different things, but they're both exceeding in their own way. And comparing them is kind of tough because of that, because they're not even trying to do the same thing. They're not even in close proximity to each other. You know what I mean?
If I were to go and... Here's another reason that I was a little bit disappointed with it winning. I have so few knocks against Alan Wake 2 and against a game like Final Fantasy 16, and especially for Zelda. But the big one is Resident Evil 4 is basically a perfect video game, through and through.
Did Resident Evil 4 win anything?
I don't think so.
Oh,
which I mean, it's just the year we're in, right?
Yeah, right.
But
isn't that crazy?
At the end of the day, for me, I was you shrug your shoulders and you just the breadth of it allows for you to accept more mistakes.
Right.
But Resident Evil 4, I'm like, that's basically a perfect game. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I'm like, that's basically a perfect game.
I think people would argue that Baldur's Gate is a perfect game. It's just not. We see some flaws in it because it's not for us.
The flaws for me though are the story is extremely interesting. Characters extremely interesting. I think that like the systems of playing it on controller are just not as good as they are PC, and you can say that about a lot of games. But it's difficult and it is overwhelming. And if you don't have a D&D background, I think they didn't do a great job of explaining how to basically play D&D. I think that is a big knock. And if you're playing it with friends, it will be a little bit better, but us passing controller obviously just wasn't it for us.
Even having Shane talk to us during Extra Life and like he was explaining different systems and stuff, and I was like, dude, like, how am I 20 hours into this game and you're telling me stuff that I have no idea even what you're even talking about?
Yeah,
like
you're speaking a different language.
Where like we were paying attention and trying to like get all this information, but like it's a lot. So
let's get into the announcements. Kicked us off with Exodus, the Matthew McConaughey game. We got some gameplay in there, space shooter. There's people from BioWare that worked on it. There's apparently a couple Naughty Dog people in on it. Yep. Which I didn't know exactly that until today, reading some things.
Yep.
Makes me a little bit more excited than last night, I'll tell you that much. Just obviously there's a little bit more trust. I don't know why they didn't like really beat that drum. They might have popped up BioWare devs, but
yeah,
it should have been more clear, being like, oh, this is a trusted game and it's not just standing on the shoulders of Matthew McConaughey.
Because they didn't even show Matthew McConaughey like in the game.
No,
like,
or his voice.
Yeah, which is weird. They might have, but I'm not really 100% sure. But I think it looks good. I think the art direction's a little weird. I don't really like the huge eyes thing. The Alita Battle Angel kind of vibe that they got going on there is kind of weird. But yeah, I think it looks interesting. I'm glad they showed some in-engine gameplay stuff because I thought it was all just going to be that first CG trailer, and then they showed gameplay, and I was like, okay, I'm a little bit more in on this. It kind of gave me Returnal vibes a little bit with like how it looked to play, which makes me a little bit more excited. But I don't believe in studios' first game until like the reviews are out and we know a little bit more, just because I've gotten burned too many times where it's like from the creators of Dead Space, the Callisto Protocol, and it's like, okay, this game looks high budget is all get out, like it looks amazing, but like does it play amazing? Like I don't trust it until we have it in our hands.
It's more about like how good a story can be, because I think that's what Callisto was mainly lacking. The gameplay was there. For a game like this,
I don't agree with that necessarily. The gameplay wasn't really there either. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's not Dead Space though.
Dead Space is tight. But this is overall just it's a important game to have at the start of a show, as long as you pair it with something rock solid after. And they paired it with God of War Valhalla. Free DLC. It was really funny. I like to think that there's people from Naughty Dog just being like, what the shit, dude? You're like, Naughty Dog, we got $10 upgrade pass for The Last of Us Remastered. It's only $10 coming out January. And then God of War, that's a roguelike. And God of War's like, we got a roguelike that's free and coming out in December. Like they just like I imagine like a Naughty Dog dev like sipping a drink and doing a spit take, being like, what the heck, dude? Yeah. No one tell me about this.
Right.
It's funny, but I'm stoked for it. Free is the big thing for me, where if it was even $10, I probably wouldn't have touched it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to touch this, honestly.
And for me, we have the time and the schedule to allow myself.
I know, it is nice that things are opening up quite a bit. We have until early February. We have like a month, basically.
I think I want to review Prince of Persia.
Oh, Prince of Persia. Okay, Prince of Persia, and then Reload.
Then Reload.
And then Rebirth.
Yeah, but we got like 3 weeks of like... right now, normally... me, Connor, Brady, it's like we have designations to play on the team, being like, okay, Brady, you need to be playing this.
I think we should all play Prince of Persia. I think that would be we could do all three of us.
Yeah, if we can get codes for it, huge.
I gotta reach out.
We gotta reach out, because apparently there's even earlier access, like for January 11th. So review code's probably going out 2-3 weeks before that.
Yeah.
So
and it's Christmas time too. So like it's probably weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways,
but yeah, Valhalla. I still don't think I'm gonna get into it, especially with what we're gonna talk about later with the Final Fantasy 16 DLC. Like, depending on how long that is, that's priority number one for me right now. I'm gonna go home and download that. It does cost money. The Final Fantasy 16 DLC. Of course it does. Yeah. But I think it's like $30 for both.
I thought it was $25
for both of them. Okay.
Oh, for both of them? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought the first one was $25, so maybe I'm incorrect for speaking out of my ass. But sure, worth. Yeah. It's FF16. Who gives a shit? Right. Just being in that world, that combat system.
I've been meaning to get back to it anyways because I want to platinum it, and I was doing my second run through to do that platinum. Yeah. And now this gives me an excuse to just be like, okay, I can get in there, and then I can get reacquainted with the game and play that DLC, and then finish out the game.
I do think that next year we will schedule Brady to play FF16 on stream.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. He said he wanted to play it.
Yeah, if Brady's in, it's one of those things that's like, well, that takes group stream out of the equation basically for 2 months probably. But honestly, it'll probably be worth it just because that game is so good. We'll all be stoked to play it. That's the big thing that we've realized with group stream is like, we need to all be in on the game. We need to all be in on either the co-op experience or wanting Brady to play it. I think it's going to be really helpful for I adore Miles Morales. It's the only Spider-Man game I've beaten twice. I'm stoked to see it a third time. And Brady playing it's going to be awesome. So we might try to get that in on the schedule. But I think I will hop into Valhalla. I think that I will give it a little bit of a shot. If it's 2 hours in a fun bonus stream that we figure out and throw on the schedule,
I don't think it's 2 hours. I think it's going to be longer just because of the roguelike elements.
But I'm saying
there is a story though. I thought it was literally just a mode, basically. No, there's a story. But there's a story to it, which is cool.
Yeah, that's exciting, and it's an
epilogue. Yeah, it's after the game. Yeah.
Then we kicked off the 1-2-3 punch with Big Walk by the Untitled Goose Game developers. Looks weird. Looks trippy. Looks fun.
2025 though, right?
Yep.
Yeah, far off, dude. Like, we'll talk more about this, but man, like the 2025 is gonna be stacked. 2024 is looking weak. It's kind of like a 2014, 2019 type of deal. But I think we're gonna fill in the gaps with something. But we'll talk about that later.
So we had our big PlayStation game early in the show. Xbox wanted to also have one early in the show. It looks like Hellblade 2. 2024
gameplay
that looked great. Rewatched the trailer this morning, was blown away by it.
I did hear somebody point out that it is kind of weird that they literally did not let you see more than like 1 or 2 seconds of continuous gameplay. They always cut to the next thing every single time. I think that's a little bit sketchy. But also, it might just be like trailer editing.
I think part of it's trailer editing. They don't want the deep dive sections in the Game Awards. They've made that very clear.
Right.
So just being like fast paced. We already had a music thing. We're only going to give you guys 60 seconds. And they want the grandiose sequences in there with some gameplay. Right. Sure, it makes sense to me. I'm fine with it.
It looks great. I'm glad that it's finally revealed. This is the last thing we talked about, and I was like, 2025. I still think that that's possible.
Absolutely.
I think the idea that they didn't put an actual date on it, I think there's a real possibility that it gets pushed.
The next game was No Rest for the Wicked, the Ori developers. What do you think about this?
I think the art style's a little ugly, from what I remember.
I thought it was. I rewatched the trailer. I think it's actually really solid. But
okay,
that's
kind of like the biggest point. But then we saw gameplay, and I was like, oh, the gameplay looks a lot better than what I thought we were going to get. And it's the Ori developer. You trust them to put out a banger. They really haven't missed so far. So it's coming to everything, though, right? I think it is. I don't think it's Xbox exclusive this time around.
What? The No Rest for the Wicked?
Yeah, I think it's coming to everything.
Okay, I thought... the reason I was on my phone chat was I was checking to see if it was early 2024 for Hellblade on their latest trailer, and it was just 2024.
Yeah.
I thought that there was some indication saying that it was early 2024.
I think it's...
This is a big issue with Xbox, where they basically... It feels like there's some general assumptions with certain teams being like, oh, Hellblade, it's probably 2023. Oh, it's 2024, so it's going to be early 2024. Where the goalpost just gets pushed, and all of a sudden we only end up with one and maybe two big titles when it feels like they have the teams. They have 20 announced games to PlayStation's 10.
That's wild. Where are they?
20.
And where are they?
Where are they?
Right.
Like, the fact that we might only get 2 next year is ridiculous.
Which would be Hellblade and Avowed, probably?
Hellblade and Avowed are the 2 that are slated for 2024. Like, it is... Bethesda's got to come through with something. Like, one of their teams has to...
What's it doing? What's Machine Games doing? We know what Machine Games is doing, but, we haven't heard from them in a long time.
Stalker is another one. Yeah.
State of Decay. Like, where's State of Decay? That was announced at the Xbox... main showcase in 2020. Yeah.
2020, yeah. But no rest for the wicked. I think that I want to see this. I think it's a good starting point to be like, okay, here's this thing. We'll understand a little bit better the next time it shows up at a showcase or a Jeff deal or State of Play, whatever it is, right? But yeah, I think it's rock solid. The next game is not 1 game, it's 5 games. It's the Sega Rock Block, as I like to call it. Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi, and a bunch of other shit. Brady, huge pop from Crazy Taxi. The understanding when it was Jet Set Radio was also unbelievable.
Take me to the Pizza Hut.
Like, this was just fun.
Take me to Raytheon.
And they have these titles that I think that if you have one, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Jet Set. But, like, the fact that they're like, it's all these beloved games and IPs that we're going to be throwing your way for the next... whatever. It's super exciting.
I thought this was their mega game because they apparently have a game in development that like costs like $2 billion or something, like something crazy. And I thought it was this, but I don't think it is. I think these are individual games. Yep. But I do like the idea of them like having like a platform basically that is developing all of these games that like almost like you have like a hub, like a PlayStation Home or something, and then you can like go into the like door and play like, oh, I'm gonna play Jet Set Radio, and then come out and like.
I hope it's a different thing. I hope that it's like a Jackbox party pack where it is you just scroll down and say, okay, tonight we're hopping in, we're gonna do a Crazy Taxi stream. We're going to get some Pizza Hut.
They need to make sure that they're doing, like, full-fledged games, though. Because, like, if I fear if that was the case and it's, like, kind of like a party pack, that they would be like, oh, this game only needs to be 5 hours. This only, like, but you need that replayability to be like, okay, like, we can
Crazy Taxi and some of these games are those... You just play for scores.
Streets of Rage is one of them. Yeah.
Like, you don't need to play for just, like... a linear story. Jet Set Radio is one of those things that I'm like, if it's 7+ hours, that's really good. Right. Like, that's going to be the sweet spot for that game. Next up, Dragon Ball Sparkling Hope this is not my deal at all.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. The people who love Budokai Tenkaichi, I thought it was weird that it's called Sparkling Hope. Apparently there's some sort of connection there to like the Japanese versions of these Budokai games. That's why it's called that, but I think it's weird to move away from that name because this is Budokai Tenkaichi 4. Yeah. That's basically how they announced it, a new Tenkaichi game. And I think it's cool that it's coming back. It's cool to see gameplay. Did they put a date on it? Did they put a year on it?
I don't think so. I don't have anything
but it's exciting, and I like Dragon Ball quite a bit. I'm not the biggest Dragon Ball Z fan. I like original Dragon Ball more. Yeah. But, it was very exciting to see that, and I think it's cool to see the return of one of the greatest fighting game series of all time.
Well, if you want to talk about returns of great games, Secret of Mana got a sequel? Visions of Mana?
Yeah.
Once again, another announcement that didn't get me out of my seat, but you were freaking the heck out.
I mean, like, I it's one of those things that I've not played Secret of Mana. I am familiar with it, but I own it. And I would like to get into it at some point, but it's Square Enix.
Yep.
Squaresoft at the time when this game came out.
It feels like Squaresoft is like doing some stuff. Like they're loosening up their IPs. Like their contracts must have ended on certain things.
Apparently, they wanted to. Here's the issue. They wanted to focus on just big budget games, their Kingdom Hearts, their Final Fantasies, and move away from like the smaller stuff, like the. What was it? Valkyrie Elysium and like that Harvestella, like the smaller farming game or whatever. They wanted to move away from that. So I hope that this is a full-fledged, full-budget game they're putting some weight behind and treat the IP with respect that it deserves. This is like the comeback of one of the most legendary series of all time, and it did look the part. I do like the art style. I did like the world. Like, I'm glad that it's coming back, and I'm see what they have. I'm excited to see what they have in store for us for that.
Awesome. Then Rise of the Ronin, March 25th, 24th, 22nd. I forget the exact date. PlayStation, that Sony logo popped up. Koei Tecmo, what do you think?
It's interesting because I was so excited about this game from the first time we saw
Yep.
it, and now that we've seen it in engine and gameplay or whatever, I'm like, maybe I'm not that excited about this. Like, they put out generally pretty good games at the studio behind Neo, correct?
Yep.
So you got to factor that in for sure. But it just looked a little bit choppy. It didn't look very fluid. Is this a Souls type game that's open world? Is it more of like an action like DMC kind of game?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not really sure, and I feel like having those questions is not good when a game is coming out in a few months. Like, yeah, so I'm a little bit more concerned about it, but it's one of those, if it reviews well, I think I'll definitely pick it up.
The thing with this game, and hopefully one of us can get a copy for review beforehand, it serves a purpose, which is cool, ninja, guns, whatever, right? Like, samurai, like...
Fills in that.
But also, it's a date in a year with not a lot of dates.
Yeah.
And I think that is a huge win for Team Blue on the night, being like, we got 2 things so far that we've discussed that are God of War Valhalla DLC with a date for free. Super exciting.
The Last of Us Remastered too.
Yep, early in the year, and then Rise of Ronin also getting a date. We sort of now know
the first 3 months are actually pretty solid.
Like, yeah, if you were to tell me as someone that owns a PS5 that you can play on this system, God of War DLC into The Last of Us Remastered, will play through the entire Last of Us 2 again just when it comes out.
I will 100% do
that. And then going into February, you have FF7 Rebirth on the 29th.
Persona 5 Reload.
Persona 5 Reload, and then closing out with Rise of Ronin. Sure, I think that by the time we have a lackluster April, May, we get a PlayStation Showcase, and we get one banger at the end of the year.
Yeah, but then third party needs to fill in the gaps in some way.
I don't think that it's going...
It needs to.
It needs to. I think that we are in a very rough year, and we'll talk about why after the fact, but I really think that this is just not it.
It's Donkey Kong Country 3.
The game at the top left is Donkey Kong Country 3. Then we moved into probably a easily top 3 biggest announcement of the night. OD Overdose. Let's just call a spade a spade. It's Overdose.
Yes.
Jordan Peele.
Yes.
Comes on stage.
Very exciting.
But
what is it?
Here's the thing.
Is it a movie?
No, I think it's a game.
Is it a game movie?
No, it's a fucking video.
It's
game.
Using cloud technology.
It's a video game.
I have to put my faith in Kojima. That's honestly where this lives and dies. If it wasn't Kojima and now Jordan Peele, I think this would flop for me totally. If Joe Schmo came on stage and showed this, I would be like, I don't care about this at all. Yeah. But it's fucking Kojima. It's Xbox. Interesting points. They have pointed out that exclusive on Xbox, coming to Game Pass day and date, did not do that for this game.
Yeah,
that is weird. Interesting.
Somebody did after the fact say that certain games that they didn't say exclusive, they're like, it's exclusive, we just didn't want to say it.
Okay.
For a couple of the titles throughout the night.
Did they do that for Blade?
I did not yet.
Because I think we'll talk about that later. Yeah.
But super exciting. Jordan Peele, the collaboration. His theme comes in, that door is opened. Everybody starts laughing.
Does he have a theme?
I'm pretty sure that it's that sounds like Jordan Peele-esque. I don't fucking know, but it was hype. And then you see the silhouette, and I was like, that's Jordan Peele. But they even allowed him to have the silhouette moment to then pop up, and it's Jordan. Right. Awesome, really terrific. 2 of the best creative minds of all time. One of the most exciting announcements, but once again, no date, and I'm going to ask you now, where's DS2?
I think it's still next year, probably.
Okay. When do we see it, though? Because
at a showcase.
My thing is,
at a state of play.
If it's showcase or state of play, when is the next PlayStation state of play? When's the
January.
January.
January or February, yeah.
I think...
We get a state of play before we get a showcase, for sure.
Oh, totally. I agree with that. But I'm at the point that it's
they gotta show fucking something, dude. They have to. I can't believe that they didn't show a big first party announcement at this. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, they have to have something. These developers are working on something. Like,
I mean, I just think that people need to get in check and start to realize it is not going to be a great PlayStation year next year. What I was hoping, though, and we'll talk about this a little bit more at the end of the conversation, I was hoping it was going to be a great Xbox year. And now I have a lot less
I think it's going to be a down year, but we'll talk about that in a second. Yep. Let's keep rolling.
FF7 Rebirth, they got a song story trailer, but apparently there's a full trailer. Did you know about this?
Oh, no.
There's a full Final Fantasy VII story trailer that was used bits and pieces of what they showed. So it's like, that is the trailer that we saw, but there's some story stuff before it, and it's juicy.
Yeah.
I watched through it. Connor probably will not watch it. At this point.
The bits that they showed, I was like, that's good.
Yeah.
Sid
looks so
Sid looks
good.
great.
Vincent looks so great.
Vincent voiced by Matthew Mercer.
Yep. Who was also on stage at one point last night.
Exciting. So that's awesome. I can't wait. I mean, I don't need to see anything. At this point, I am on full media blackout for FF7 Rebirth. I don't want to see anything about it.
Moving on, one of, if not the biggest announcement of the night.
Awesome.
Blade,
dude.
Dude, I just even saying it, I just got chills.
Somebody pointed out the fangs. I had no idea.
No,
did not notice that at all.
So, just a little behind the curtain for the people that are in chat right now, the people watching on YouTube. When we had the setup, we had YouTube up on, like, I have a 55-inch TV. We have YouTube up, but we don't have it, like, expanded out in a way. So it's like we're just watching,
we're watching in, like, in a little box.
Yeah, we're not watching, like,
it's hard to see, but
thing.
It works. And we also have to keep the volume down so it doesn't pick up on the microphone. Yep. So, like, it's not the most ideal experience. So we want to, like, get headphones at some point and, like, have, like, some sort of splitter or something like that.
More importantly, I want to find a way to, in the future, get things to be bigger. I know how to do certain things, but anyways. And so we couldn't see, like, someone's like, there's fangs. And we're like, yeah, we weren't like having it a full 55
I rewatched the trailer like 10 times today, rewatching our reaction because I thought it was so fun.
Our reaction to it is
and reading the comments and all that. And then I didn't notice it until way later. Yeah. I was like, oh. There are fangs.
If
I was
like pointing out.
Yeah.
I don't know what it said.
But without that, I was hook, line, and sinker on it. I had no idea what it was until the shink and you going Blade, and then it Blade, and I was like, oh yeah,
like
Arcane, the good studio that they have or whatever, the ones who make Dishonored and Deathloop. I'm all in. I'm all in on this. It looks fantastic when it comes to like art style and art direction.
Or at least we see it 2026.
This is coming to PS5.
I don't think so.
I would stake my life on it.
Don't you say that so often? You're wrong about it so often.
Yeah,
I think you're going to be wrong about that.
Sometimes it's going to be right. They didn't show any Xbox branding on this whatsoever. Why?
I think that...
Why?
Arcane is not going to make a PlayStation game.
It could already be under contract, though. That's another factor because they already had that relationship with Deathloop. Yep. They could have already had that relationship with PlayStation.
With saying their next game. But
yes.
Phil Spencer did say, though, not too long ago, it will be literally everything for Bethesda will always be Game Pass day one.
Okay,
so
that's fine.
I understand, but I think
they also want to bring Game Pass to PlayStation, and they also want their games on PlayStation, apparently, according to the CFO.
No, but then... Yeah,
then Phil Spencer said something different. But is the CFO just talking completely out of his ass?
I don't think so.
Yeah, this man is media trained. He doesn't just speak saying that Xbox games are eventually going to come to PlayStation if they can, like out of nowhere. So and then we see something like that, and I'm like, you got to start connecting the dots and be like, maybe these games are going to start coming to PlayStation. Maybe not right away, but eventually. I think we see Blade on PlayStation at some point.
Absolutely, there's a chance. I disagree. I don't think that it will happen.
The Xbox Series is not selling well.
Yeah.
Like, it's selling worse than the Xbox One right now. So with that in mind, like they got to be looking at that and being like, okay, we can bring this stuff, and we're not really in the business of selling consoles at this point. They're in the business of selling Game Pass.
They need to get to a place where they are able to go and say, here's a stream stick for $200. $200 or less. Honestly, I think that the Series S at this point should be cost $175, $200.
The problem is that you still need something that can run these games
Yeah.
properly and not holding things back. We already had that issue with Larian and Baldur's Gate 3 with
The
coming to
Series S,
Xbox because of the Series S. They can't keep going
Also,
on that path and making something not powerful enough.
Talking about Team Green, a huge missed win. And the person said, I made a mistake. When I went up to get my speech, I was supposed to say it's coming to Xbox, this whole thing, this whole moment. It's coming to Xbox. Super excited for BG3. But like,
oh, nice.
Yeah, but he was supposed to say that
soon
during
this
the
year,
speech.
right?
No, I'm pretty sure it's out like in a week or something.
Okay.
Like,
we already knew that though.
We knew there wasn't an official thing.
Yeah.
That was the big issue, and that would have been a get hype moment, like for Team Green. And I kind of am sad that didn't work out the way that it did. Cast Sentinel, I totally forget about this game. Rockstar developers, like old Rockstar developers. Do you remember this game at all at this point?
No.
We don't need to touch on it. We'll go and rewatch the trailer. We might bring it up the next podcast if we are in love with it, but because we both forget it, not even that important. Closing out with the last two, big announcements. FF16 DLC, we talked about it a little bit. One of the reason that this isn't that exciting, in my eyes, as someone that loves FF16, I think everybody would agree we would rather trade FF16 DLC and God of War DLC for one actual hype announcement.
For an actual game.
For an actual full game announcement.
Yeah. I understand that sentiment, but when it comes to just like me personally and what I like enjoy, I've been stoked for this DLC for a minute now. It's crazy that time has gone so fast, this year has gone so quick that like I was like, oh, Final Fantasy 16 just came out. There's no way they have DLC ready. And I was like, fuck, it's been like 5 months. Yeah. Like, since this game came out, I was like, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, that makes total sense. But yeah, I'm stoked for it. I'm probably going to hop into this maybe a little bit tonight and tomorrow and see how it goes. I can't wait.
I'll see what you...
we'll talk about it next week on the pod.
Yeah, totally. You'll be my first base coach. Well, 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Man.
Well, we can do it. We can do some banter at the start tomorrow.
Yeah, it's gonna just be a long podcast.
Yeah, people like that. People like the long podcast.
We have 26 people watching right now, which is unbelievable because we didn't even tell anyone we were doing this. Right. This right now we are at peak viewership for what we would get in a normal week before last night.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you guys for rocking with us. We're recording the podcast live for those watching on YouTube, so it's hard to not kind of look over a little bit and see what's going on over there, but it's exciting.
Laura, you're doing a great job modding. Thank you. Lastly, Monster Hunter World. Sorry, Monster Hunter Wilds.
Yep, it's going to be hard to switch that in our brains.
Yeah, I wrote down World. That was the tough part. 2025.
So what I've realized and what people have pointed out is that the big game that Capcom was talking about is Dragon's Dogma 2. Yep. That is the 2024 early game, and based off of the footage that we saw recently for that game, I think it looks great. Great. It's hard to have a RPG come out right now and be that like a fantasy RPG next to Baldur's Gate.
Yep.
I know that they're different. One's a CRPG and one's like more of an action RPG. But like, fuck, man, like if it doesn't deliver certain things, then like I'm afraid that it's gonna kind of get lambasted.
Yeah, especially with BG3 coming out to Xbox right now, you have a whole new player base that is gonna be spending their money on that game comparatively to Dragon's Dogma. I kind of have faith though that Dragon's Dogma might be a sleeper contender next year.
Yeah, because it's Capcom. They don't miss right now. Even when they're putting out lesser games, you kind of know they're lesser games. Exo Primal coming immediately to Game Pass, like, but even those are fun. A lot of people liked Exo Primal. It wasn't like something that really blew the doors off the barn, but like it's still exciting and decent for what it is.
Totally.
So with that in mind, like a $70
Dragon's Dogma
follow up to a beloved original, a cult classic, like I think it's going to do great. But that leads us to Monster Hunter World 2025. That's probably early.
You mean Monster Hunter Wilds 2025? Here we go, dude.
Yeah,
here we go.
Switch on that. Monster Hunter Wilds 2025. I now really want to try Monster Hunter World again and just kind of get into the series, or maybe do Monster Hunter Rise on Switch. and experience that, or just get real weird and play Monster Hunter on the PSP and like play one of the classics. I have a vivid memory of the first time I saw a PSP was somebody playing Monster Hunter on the bus. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this game looks really cool. It looks or whatever. Cool. And he was like showing me he was going to the different areas and hunting things. I was like, it's kind of awesome. But I'm stoked on this. I'm excited to try to get into it. Hopefully they fix the co-op and we can play together easily and we can get into this and maybe play with the fans at some point. Have like some sort of like community for this.
That sounds dope. Like unironically, I do a lot of bullshitting when it comes to content, and I called myself out on it, and I'm doing it right now. Be like, dude, we're gonna hop in. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're totally gonna do this. But then certain games fall flat, and then we just never get to it. Like, I was like, oh, we should definitely get a squad for Redfall. That was one of my most anticipated games for 2020.
That game was good. I think we would have done that.
Yeah, but like, I do want to. Like, this is a game that I actually am like, let's get the boys together and rock and roll. Also, next year, we have the greatest game of all time coming out. Fucking Foam Stars, dude. The boys will be getting together and playing some Foam Stars.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
But I'm stoked on this. It looks terrific. We got hunters. We got monsters. Let's rock and roll.
Somebody did point out, like, there's just a lot of monsters on screen all at once. Yep. I was like, okay, like, it might not be the most visually impressive game. Monster Hunter has never been about, like, the crazy graphics. It's about the systems and the gameplay and the playing with your friends. And
the loot and loop of the game.
Right. So, like, people being like, oh, it looks like a mobile game. It's like, dude, like, who fucking cares? If it's fun, it's fun. Yeah. And I'm sure it'll look even better when we get closer, but like also it was like showing this like really sandy dark area, and then once it panned out into the big area and they came out the other side, I was like, oh, that game's actually pretty good looking. And there's mounts in this which they added in Rise, and that's not in World, so like it's cool to see that in this bigger game. So I'm stoked.
I want to close out with a couple of overarching questions because this is pretty important to discuss what the hell is even happening. But last night, what was your moment of the show, game moment of the show? Like, do you think it was paced well? I want to talk about just, like, the overarching show at this point.
Okay.
And also, let's just get it out of the way. The devs conversation of 30 seconds was the time limit.
Apparently, Jeff didn't approve that and didn't know this.
Well, so, no, Jeff came out and he said, hey, we did let everyone know that we're shortening the time of the speeches and everything. And then he did say, we're going to look into this for next year. We did get more lax throughout the show, like, to be like, give them a little bit more time before you give them the light and everything.
Right.
With that being said, and this is really important. This is a point I've been stewing on literally all day in my hungover haze. And I might just be a little bit of a curmudgeon to say this. If you want to watch and respect these developers and let them have their moment, you need to watch DICE. You need to watch these other award shows. If you really care about that and you're like, this is something we really want, that needs to be shown with other award shows. But people don't do that. They don't care about... The people show up to the Game Awards for the announcements. We had a 3.5-hour show last night. And people are saying, why can't you just throw 10 more minutes on? And I would say, Dude, I love the speeches, and I am somebody that does fucking watch DICE. Like, so please, like, if you're gonna come at me and be like, do you even? Yes. You need to be able to go and say, okay, shit, well, let's go and actually support these guys. I think it's a joke that you don't have best independent game get on stage, and comparatively you have best adaptation on stage. That's a major issue in oversight, especially... Sea of Stars was what won that. I want to see that dev team on stage and let them have their moment because guess what? They kind of deserve it. In a year full of great games, they still deserve it. Best score, Final Fantasy 16. No one got to go up on stage for that game. That's an oversight in my eyes.
Music is such an essential part of games, and like,
it's like honestly, a top 5 most essential thing.
Right. So games. Like, it's sad that like that wasn't given the due respect. But even then, I don't necessarily agree that like. Just go watch the other shows.
No, I'm not saying watch the other shows. I'm saying that we need to, as a community, and I think that they did a really great job of everyone has been blowing up Twitter and adding the Game Awards saying this needs to happen. But I'm also saying that, like, yes, we can also show them that, like, we care about the speeches by supporting these other award shows. Because as of right now, if I'm running the show, if I'm Jeff Keighley and I'm talking to the team just from a marketing standpoint, hey, what is going to bolster our numbers? What's going to get the people going? It's the awards, and sorry, not the awards. It's the announcements, and it's the pacing of the announcements, and going and splicing in the awards in between. They still need to ramble off awards. Certain ones kind of suck that they just ramble off, but they really do still need to ramble off awards. The pacing of the show, we're going to get into it in a moment. What I'm saying is, we need to be okay with supporting these other award shows to show the fact that we care about these speeches and we care about these dev teams. If you want to care about these dev teams, show actual support and don't be like, well, this is the night to do it. Jeff has to give it to me. No, they go up on stage. Like, we have seen the Ben Starr, like, because we care about Ben Starr. We saw him at the Golden Joysticks do his speech because we want to see that. We want to support that. Like, support the people that are going and doing great things by actually watching those other award shows and actually show Jeff Keighley, hey, there's an audience for this. Because right now, the way he sees it, and honestly the way I see it, is you come to the Game Awards for one thing, and that is announcements and the Game of the Year.
I think that's such a bummer, though. I love the people who say that the awards don't matter. I love the awards part.
The awards part is
it's fun.
So fun. It's so fun for us.
It doesn't matter
at
the end of the day, but like it is a good time to try to guess what's gonna win and then see what does win. Like I think that stuff's fun, and then I do think it's important to give the devs a little bit more time.
Well, what I'm saying is, it wouldn't kill them to give them a minute, and obviously they were overcorrecting from Christopher Judge last year,
right?
But like, it still needs to be like. I just remember a couple years ago being like, during certain awards and certain acceptance speeches, it was like, like, can we get back to the fun?
Right.
Because also, like, I do think, let's just say that the headlines were, this wasn't the headline from the show, and everyone got 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then the show hit that 4-hour mark. People be freaking outraged that this show is 4 hours.
I don't think so. I mean, if you want to complain about more goodness, then that's your own fault.
Yeah, I know that, but people do say that things get lazy.
So let's talk about the show overall and
pacing.
How I think the show, it's a weird situation where it's like I don't think anything is Jeff's fault when it comes to this being more of a lackluster year in comparison to Jeff's. In comparison to last year.
Yep.
It's just the landscape we're in right now.
Yep.
Like, we just had one of the greatest years in gaming. It's going to be a little slow next year. We're already seeing 2025 shape up to be another banger of a year.
Yep.
So I think the pacing of the show, perfect. I think Jeff has gotten that down perfectly.
Yeah.
There's great announcements. We had some of the best announcements at the end, which kind of rarely happens at this point right now.
To get a literal 4 punches, 3 really big punches for us of Blade, FF16, and Monster Hunter World to close the show. That's rock solid.
Wild.
That's rock solid.
Yeah, it's really good.
Oh, wild.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then kicking it off the way they did, like I just think that like it's paced perfectly. It's just lackluster because you don't have that Hades 2, that Judas moment or whatever. Where it's
for
like,
me, I do think that we like in
Blade.
retrospect, I think that Blade was that. Like,
that's
Blade,
the biggest one.
Blade
that
is the biggest
one.
new thing that really gets you out of your seat because it is Arcane, it is Marvel Games. They know what they're doing. I have 100% faith that game is going to be great to amazing to a masterpiece, right?
Right.
And at the end of the day, in retrospect, we obviously lost our mind. It's one of the biggest announcements, but that is the biggest announcement. And honestly, it's sort of this show feels like they had a rising action climax following action, and that climax being OD Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Blade is pretty damn elite.
But there was stuff sprinkled out throughout the whole day, which is awesome. Like, so I think solid B, really solid show.
Yep.
But let's hop into where we.
Real quick, I will give it a B-, and my moment of the show, Blade, we agree, is the game of the show, right?
Yes.
My moment of the show, and I even posted this on Instagram, like, because it really has taken my breath away, even re-looking at it. The Old Guards of Asgard performance is so perfectly, like, what I want this award show to always be.
Did you notice they didn't do it live?
What?
That was pre-recorded.
Really?
Yep.
Wow, totally went over my head.
Yeah.
I don't give a flying shit.
Yeah, me neither. It totally doesn't matter, but somebody pointed that out to me, and I was like, oh.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
How can you tell?
the audience clapping and everything is like a canned recording of them clapping, and also like when it pans over the audience, it's like a fake audience.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
It's weird. Anyways, whatever.
Anyways, still just having Sam Lake up there having his moment.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
At the end of the day, sure, it was not in the house and it was pre-recorded. I don't even care. The fact that they broadcasted that
100%.
It is the celebration that we need of it. It's perfect music and celebration, and having somebody like Sam Lake that we now discuss in that next level and is rising up to that development level of Corey Barlog, Hideo, like some of these teams that are like, oh, like
right.
If Sam Lake's name is on anything, I'm playing it. I'm playing it. Yeah, totally. And so for him to have his moment and have like I went back to the moment like we reacted to it where we're just like, please get Sam Lake up there. Please let him come up here. Just let it happen. Come on, let it happen. And then it happens, and we erupt. Like, we go ballistic because it's so awesome.
It's so fun.
Like, it's fun, it's stupid, and it was put perfectly just in the show at the perfect moment. Unbelievable. Super excited about it. That was my moment of the show.
I think my moment of the show, in retrospect, was the Final Fantasy 16 DLC. That's what I got most excited about when it comes to, like, the immediacy of it. And I didn't even realize that it was out today. I thought it was spring and I was still stoked on it, but like now in retrospect I'm like, oh yeah, that was fucking awesome. I was shocked to see it as soon as we did, because I thought it could have been way further off.
I thought it could have been summer winter next year.
I'm very interested to see how big the DLC is. I don't know if that information is online yet, but
it'll be, if you look it up now.
How long do you think it is? Like 3-4 hours probably.
Hopefully it's if it's $25-$30, it better be
for one of them 4 hours, and then for the second one 4 hours.
Okay, yeah,
8 hours.
8 hours
for $25.
For $25
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm stoked for it.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, we want to talk about where the heck we are in this industry now.
Yeah, I want to talk first about Nintendo if we can.
Okay, I was going to say we should talk about it last, but I think that
okay, yeah, let's do it last.
I think that it's a twofold conversation, being like, PlayStation so well at this point knows exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
They are selling hand over fist PS5s with
nothing.
Here's the thing, it's with Spider-Man. Like the PS5 this year is the holiday gift because it's got a bundle with Spider-Man. Everyone and their mom can play Spider-Man and really have a great time with it.
Yeah.
Super enjoyable. Like it doesn't matter. They're just write the checkbook. I think that they're also in-house on a course correction, being like, we need to get back to get away from the
Jim Ryan scenario.
It needs to be next PlayStation Showcase. We will get Concord gameplay. We will get a date on that. We will get probably one of Fair Games or Marathon to show back up with a date, whatever, or a more dialed-in year or season. But at the end of the day, it is going to be very, very interesting to see if we get even one banger next year.
We better. It has to. I mean, as we said, the first bit of the year,
3 months is locked. It's
great. Stacked up with some good stuff. Then we have Stellar Blade out there, which is officially a second-party game.
Something that I didn't discuss. Tekken 8 at the start of the year.
Tekken 8, that's January, right?
January, yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
Tekken 8, we have Stellar Blade. Like, if that's the first half of the year, if Stellar Blade's like April and it's like a legitimate like Bayonetta level contender, then like okay.
Stellar Blade just needs to be like an 8. Like it doesn't need 7.5 to 8.5. It doesn't need to blow our socks
I don't think it can be a 7.5. I think it needs to be above an 8, which is fine. And the fact that Sony went out and was like, we're gonna fund this game and have a second party relationship with you, like to make this exclusive to PlayStation, I think that they have some confidence in it. Same with Rise Ronin for that matter.
3 questions. Bend, Bluepoint, Housemarque, do we get anything from them next year?
Housemarque, maybe.
So you're saying that, interestingly enough, Bend, we haven't seen them in a long time.
But they restarted. They were working on Days Gone 2, and they restarted.
And then Bluepoint, Housemarque was the team we've seen most recently, so you think development cycle.
But they make smaller games.
Yeah, that is why.
But they might be stepping up now that they are owned by PlayStation.
Yeah,
so it could be different.
I think that we'll see 1, maybe 2 of those at a showcase with 2025 dates.
I don't think they're coming out next year yet.
Yeah, 2025 dates. That's the hard part of all this. It's just going to be 2025.
They'll have something planned for the second half of next year. They have to.
What's the game?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it just has to be something that's not announced and gets that quick release date or whatever, but
is DS2 possible. Enough? I don't think
so.
For
me, it is.
I know for you.
If DS2 is at the end of next year, that was their big game for
2019?
2018. 19? Yeah. That was their fall game. That was November. Yeah. So, like, why not just do that again?
I mean, at the end of the day, the next year is made for me. We got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and it looks as good as it does. And then, honestly, playing Final Fantasy VII Original on stream
I can use it. Like, I can use a slow year. I would love it. I don't think we're gonna get it, and I'll tell you why. But
I think we're on the same page.
Yeah.
I then moving to Team Green, the Xbox. I think Xbox realistically won the Game Awards last night, in my opinion. Even though there's great PlayStation announcements, Hellblade 2 looking as good as it did, unbelievable. No Rest for the Wicked, Ori developers, awesome. And then most importantly, Blade being the game of the show.
Right.
Like, with it being as awesome as it is, Team Green was on fire. Hellblade 2, 2024, probably Avowed, 2024. I just don't have faith, though.
Yep. And they need to deliver the goods. They have to deliver the goods.
But, like, finally. I felt like we were stepping so far in the right direction between original content and Game Pass, where we got Forza Motorsport, we got Starfield, and we got Hi-Fi this year. We had some bangers on Game Pass, like Lies of P and Sea of Stars. Like, Xbox had a really great year. And it seemed like we were going in the right direction and doing all the right things post Redfall. How do these teams not get it through their head that they need to show up and deliver at some level of timely fashion?
Right.
Like, I'm not talking about Clockwork Revolution, South of Midnight, South of the Midnight. I don't know exactly. Southern of the Midnight. I don't even know.
I think South of Midnight.
South of Midnight. Right. Yeah, you know what game I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then Everwild, like Outer Worlds 2. I'm not talking about those games, and I'm sure as hell I'm not talking about Doom, Wolfenstein, Indiana Jones. I'm saying the games that basically make sense to come out next year. Are we going to see them? Yeah. Honestly, Hellblade, I'm like, I literally have 2024, and then right next to it I said 2025 because I think it's a joke. I think we're at this point that I'm like,
I don't believe it until I see it.
I don't believe it until we get a date. Because my other thing is, when's the next time we're going to see Team Green? I really freaking hope they show up in January again with the developer direct. Sign me the heck up. You gave me Hi-Fi Rush on a day and date release. One of the best games of the year. I will watch every developer direct forever now because of that reason.
Right.
But if you don't have something like that, when are you going to give us a date? It won't just be a blog post. It might. My fear is that we don't get basically anything for 6 months. Maybe we get like one smaller thing. Hellblade comes out in September. Avowed comes out 2025, and Hellblade 2 just has to carry the entire year.
There's no way.
I think that we're talking about a really down year, except for Nintendo.
Yeah,
and that's why I think
it's possible. But I think that hopefully Hellblade is the first half of next year.
Yeah,
and then second half is Avowed, and then that's a great.
That's a really good year. That's a good year if you have that and but
Stalker 2 as well.
I know.
State of Decay is still out there.
State of Decay needs to come through.
Yeah, just get it out, dude.
Just honestly. Get it out. It could be. It can be Back 4 Blood. It can be it can be not amazing. It just needs to get out. Honestly, that's my thing.
That team needs to move on to something else. Honestly,
that's yeah. Anyways, then you wanted to talk about this. No Nintendo last night.
No Nintendo.
None.
Which is awesome.
So stoked. I think we're both in agreement that like this is like best case scenario, and we didn't even realize that it would be best case scenario.
You wanted to see the new console last night. I thought there was no chance, and there's no chance because they're gonna own 2024. Yeah. Like, if they announce the Switch in January, which I think is when they announced the original.
October was when we got the first trailer.
Okay, and then they did the whole
thing in March.
No, they did the whole presentation in January, and then a release in March. So with that in mind, Nintendo does a showcase or does that trailer early next year. Then they do a showcase in March, April, comes out in the summertime, and then we have the way that they laid out the Switch lineup was like banger for the first year, and they like just filled every month. You had something exciting to look forward to. It was like Zelda, and then immediately after that it was Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and then we like it just really
Octopath, and then we got it. Then we had a great content flow until we got to Odyssey, which is a huge banger. Like, people need to at college study this marketing layout and what they were able to do without a console release, because it's so spectacular.
They knew they needed to just absolutely drop a bomb on the gaming industry, and they dropped Zelda and Mario in the same year.
Which, not crazy to think about, but also to go and be like, a lot of people are like, this is releasing with just Zelda, and I'm like, yeah, it's a 100-hour game. By the time you finish it, we're going to have something else for you. By the time you finish the next one, we'll have something else for you. We're going to keep you full the entire year.
I played the Switch more in the first year than I did
the next 5 years.
Yeah. Which was awesome.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, like, I think 2024 is fine if you're a Nintendo fan along with a PlayStation and Xbox fan. Like, you're going to have the games in the second half of the year. We're going to get our 3D Mario. We're going to potentially get a new Mario Kart. We're going to potentially get Metroid Prime 4.
We're going to potentially get Donkey Kong.
A new Donkey Kong game. Yeah, dude, like, there's so much potential for what could happen with Nintendo next year that even though we're lacking in the other two big publishers, game console creators, like, I think Nintendo's going to carry the ball for us for the next year, and I think it's going to be fucking awesome. It's just a matter of when. It's just a matter of when.
That is the big question. Honestly, my thing is, I don't know the next time any of the big three will show up except for E3 season. Like, you do hope that we get a developer direct or even a partner showcase from Xbox. You hope that we get a state of play early on next year.
We'll get a state of play.
I think we'll get a state of play, but what February last year, the state of play was lame game after lame game, leading into the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League's deep dive. Right. That's what the February state of play was, and that is not good enough. I am nervous that we're going to get something similar, where it's going to be leading into Rise of Ronin. Like, we're going to get a deep dive on this game, and like, that's not... We want just the one thing. Just give us one thing. And honestly, I think the last state of play, they did. They gave us Final Fantasy VII Rebirth with a awesome story trailer that was terrific.
I think we'll get something similar to that.
Yeah.
In the next state of play. I think they know. They must know. They're not stupid.
They did earlier this year. PlayStation messed up so badly with what they delivered for February and then the May showcase that, like, it's like, oof. They need to get...
They know.
I know that they know, but then why didn't last night... And I pray that they're withholding it for something, but last night we got just bits and pieces of Sony deliciousness. We got appetizers. We got no entree games. We have... That was my big issue with last night. There was not a single 2024 release date game that owned the show. If Hellblade, honestly, they could have said December 31st, 2024. Like, and just been like, at least we're putting, like, some sort... And then if it comes out in August, they'll be like, well, here's a treat early.
Right.
But the fact that no game was able to own the night with a release date and be like, stake their claim on what 2024 is, I think you nailed it at the start of this podcast, being like, we have way more questions than we do answers about what this next year of gaming looks like.
Right. I think we know the first 3 months, maybe the first 6, on, like... in some sort of vagueness on that. As long as, like, Hellblade is actually the first half of the year, like we think and hope it is. Like, we have some idea.
Yeah.
And it's similar to, like, how Nintendo, like, lays out their directs or whatever. Like, they do, like, an early direct that's talking about the first half of the year, and then they do a September or like a mid-year direct to talk about the next half of the year, and so on and so forth. And it's like, this is that for the gaming industry for the next 3-4 months is what we kind of have this laid out in front of us, and we'll get our state of play, and we'll get maybe a Nintendo Direct early in the year, where the picture is getting painted in front of us. But for now, I think I'm still excited for the first part of the year, and as somebody who has a massive fucking backlog and just keeps buying games and buying games and buying games, I would love to be able to just kind of sink into my retro stuff and just have an off year. Yeah. Honestly, if I had my own brothers, we just had one of the best years in gaming. Don't release any games in 2024. Just let me catch up on some shit. Like, just don't release anything.
I just like that we're about to go and get absolutely beat the hell down.
Laura, can you
get that person banned, please? And Joe Scott will be going for probably another 30 minutes, I'd assume, ish. Maybe a little bit less. I think that 2024 is shaping up to be a really, really problematic year.
Pinned it. Thank you, Laura. We got it.
Yeah, thank you. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a terrific. I like. Every game this year was super exciting. Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, all these things. But at the end of the day, I'm like, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth is coming out next year. Who cares about anything else?
Right.
Right? Like, also, Shadow of the Erdtree, I think, comes out next year.
100%. I mean, that's the thing is, like, I think there's still questions that we have about next year, but we have some sort of inkling of what everybody's working on that, like, and when, generally speaking, it should be ready. Like, with the Shadow of the Erdtree, like, that's got to be ready for next year. Yeah. It has to be. There's no way. They're getting too far away from the actual release of Elden Ring, though I think Elden Ring is one of those situations where it's like, you release that fucking whenever you want, people are probably going to eat it all up. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, but I think it's exciting. Even though we have a lot of questions on what's happening next year, I think Nintendo's going to carry the ball. I think a lot of the announcements shown last night are exciting and going to fill out the year next year and in 2025, and I'm stoked for it. I think it was a great show. Honestly.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think that it was a good show. I give it a B minus. And
give it a B, solid
B. Which as like last year's Game Awards was like one of my favorite days I've ever lived.
It was perfect.
Like it was
a perfect show.
Like I don't know if you can ever get better than that.
The interesting thing is that a lot of the stuff that was shown last year isn't even out yet.
Not just even out. It's 100 questions. That's the other thing. Hades 2, Judas was one of those two come out this upcoming year.
Yeah, and then Shadow of the Erdtree as well.
Shadow of the Erdtree. There's a little game, Connor. I don't know if you heard. Small indie team called Hollow Knight Silksong.
Yeah.
I thought that was money in the bank.
Me too. What the fuck are they doing, dude?
It's not.
It's so weird. Team Cherry is just like, they might be over their skis at this point. Like the hype might be too much.
I just want them to just be like, it's the freaking Hellblade situation. Just throw a date. Just give us something. Like, that's the other thing, Connor. Dude, you ready to get full chills? What? Nintendo Showcase opens 3D Mario Kart, and for their indie little hit, Hollow Knight, and then they close it out with Metroid Prime 4 and new Donkey Kong. That's the greatest showcase
and
ever.
New Donkey Kong.
I said or.
Oh, you're getting greedy, buddy. You're getting greedy
but between
over
like that, I think that's a reason not to show it if it is some.
Yeah,
like,
I think they probably have some good shit.
If they think that it is, let's just say June to November next year, so second half next year in that range, potentially we might go and have a terrific Nintendo showcase. It would be a huge blessing to be blowing up in a Nintendo console year, like to be able to talk about it and have.
Dude, we'll be reacting along with you guys. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Like every direct, every announcement, hopefully we'll be not suited and booted, but we will be behind this table just ready to go.
Where are you at with Nintendo Directs? Do you think that the next time we get something from Nintendo, it's console, or do you think the next time we get something from Nintendo, it's a Direct?
It's console.
It's got to be.
It has to be. Yeah. They can't talk anymore, honestly.
Yeah, I think
that last Direct was like, that was it. You know, they're done. They're done. They're waiting.
Door is your last.
And they didn't even. Did they say like specifically Switch? Exactly. So that could just be coming to both things.
I kind of hope it does come to both things.
Do you want to wrap it up here? Close it out.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, anything more you want to say?
I'm just not stoked for 2024. And that's a really hard place to be. The second that Nintendo comes out and says it's a console year officially, I'm over the moon. Also, I know that like the Switch is very underpowered and like needs upgrades at this point. 7 years for a console cycle makes sense in my brain. Like that is like, if you're to tell me how long does a console last until you get a new one, I would say 7 years. About 7 years. And the fact is, it's going to be 7 years next year.
It's time, for sure.
Like, it's not only time, but it's like...
also the Switch, too, which is, like, it was underpowered to start.
Yeah.
Like, so you feel it even more.
Yeah, but, like, now it is shrugging the shoulders, like, Yeah, if you were to tell me, because we've been talking about a Switch 2 since 2021 podcasting, right?
Yeah.
That was only 4 years. Now that we're getting to 2024, it's like, okay, now it actually makes more sense. It's not just a want. It's a goddamn need at this point. Connor, what are we doing in the future? Where can people find us? What's happening on the socials? Break it down.
Thanks so much, everybody, for watching along with us who's watching this live. We are Co-op 64, and the support has been insane from everybody lately. We cannot thank you all enough. We are posting a new TikTok every freaking day. We have not missed yet. There's been a TikTok for you every day, sometimes two. And we're loving making them. Yep. The support over there has been insane. They have provided us with an insane audience over on TikTok that has led to support on Twitch and on YouTube. Speaking of Twitch and YouTube, we stream on Twitch Monday through Thursday, 7 to 10 Eastern Standard Time. Brady is about to start up Miles Morales for the Christmas season. We're going to get all warm and cuddly in Christmas in New York. It's going to be awesome. We're all going to be here watching along, talking with chat, playing Miles Morales. I am finishing up Armored Core 6 on the Wednesday stream, on my solo stream. Nick is playing Final Fantasy VII Original for the first time. This Final Fantasy remake boyo, the #1 fan, has never played Final Fantasy VII Original. He's streaming that on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
I probably got 2 weeks left this week and next week.
2 weeks,
yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
He said 9 to 12 hours last stream, so honestly, there's a chance I could, if Thursday I get bullish enough, maybe I just
power through.
late
Yeah.
and play another 2 hours or something.
You get that Sephiroth theme at the end, my boy. Oh my god. It's insane. So we're streaming 4 days a week, and we do a special stream once a month. Next month is the stream, the Co-op 64 stream, but we'll tell you more about that as we get closer. YouTube, we have the Casual Gaming Conversation every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This one is going up a little bit late because of the Game Awards. But we're happy to provide this to you guys. The support's been insane. We love doing this. We cannot thank you enough. So it's been amazing. We're going to wrap it up there. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you guys next week. Peace.